Good afternoon. I'm Susan Blaney. I'm a pediatric oncologist at Texas Children's Hospital, Baylor College of Medicine, and I'm also the vice chair of the Children's Oncology Group. So through that role, I've mentored many investigators, both within my institution as well as from afar. And today what I'm going to talk to you about is choosing a mentor and obtaining mentor letters of support. So I just want to first take a moment of reflection to highlight mentorship. And this is a picture of Merrill Egorin. He was the recipient of the first research professorship from the Conquer Cancer Foundation, and he died an untimely death of multiple myeloma in 2010. But one of Merrill's legacies, in addition to his passion for clinical cancer pharmacology, was his passion for mentorship. And his obituaries in leading cancer journals reflected that. When you came to a meeting like ASCO or other meetings, Merrill was always there with his mentees and would say, "Let me introduce you to my colleague from Pittsburgh. He is a star, and you need to know him." And that's the kind of mentor that I hope you all will have throughout your career development. So what are the characteristics of an effective mentor and the mentor-mentee relationship? I know a lot of these things may sound cliche, but they are very important. The first thing is that a mentor doesn't view their job as an 8-to-5 rule, but they value you as a person and value your career development. If you're lucky, your mentor will become a very close colleague and friend, not only during your training period, but also throughout your entire career. You both have to develop a mutual trust and respect, and there has to be bilateral maintenance of confidentiality. For example, one of the things I like to do is bring my mentees to meetings where there's strategic planning or other confidential issues that are being discussed. And these aren't didactic sessions, but they're really rich and full of learning opportunities. But I have to be confident if I'm going to bring somebody to such a meeting that they're going to maintain that confidentiality. An astute mentor will listen to both what is being said and how it is being said. That is, they'll read between the lines if you're not direct with them. In addition, a mentor will help guide you to solving your problems. Their role isn't to solve your problems for you, but to help you gain the confidence and acquire the tools that you need to navigate problem solving. In addition, one of the most important attributes of a mentor is that they are focused on your development, and they resist the urge to develop a clone of themselves or to develop you into somebody for a niche that they might need to fill. So really, they are there to help you with your career development. So a good mentor will provide a place where a mentee can ask questions and share difficulties. Once again, as you're transitioning in your career development, you find yourself the low man on the totem pole, and sometimes, you know, there's issues that you really don't know how to navigate, so they'll help you with that. They help you see how others perceive yourself or perceive you. Sometimes you're not self-promoting enough, or other times people might be very grandiose and have a lot of present themselves in a way that's beyond their level. And so a mentee will help give you advice as to how best to present yourself in particular situations if there are issues. They will give you specific feedback, give you sage advice, and importantly, they'll help you, they'll keep track of your progress so that if you're falling behind or you're, they will help bring that to your attention and get you redirected to keep you on time. They also help to instill confidence. If you're in a situation where you've submitted a grant for a second time and it wasn't funded, or you've submitted your manuscript and it was rejected, and you think, okay, I'm just going to forget this research thing and go do clinical practice because that's what I'm good at, a good mentor will help you put everything into the appropriate context and give you the confidence that you need to go forward. And then importantly, as I indicated on the first slide with Dr. Egorin, a good mentor will assist you with networking. You have to remember during your career development, as you aspire to become progress in the academic system, you're going to have to eventually develop a national and international reputation. And the way that you do that is through networking. So you're now all here at ASCO, and hopefully your mentors are here, and they can introduce you to thought leaders in the field to get you started with that networking. So what are the attributes of an effective mentor? So I couldn't find a picture of Superwoman who was appropriately clothed for this presentation. So now you have a gender-neutral presentation. But an effective mentor is experienced. They enjoy their profession. They have a passion for what they do, and they can help convey that passion to you. They're willing to invest in others, that is you, including a commitment of time, and they're well respected in their field. So ideally, you don't have just a single mentor, but you have a mentorship team. Particularly if you're doing translational research, you hopefully will have both a laboratory mentor as well as a clinical mentor. Or sometimes you might be paired with a junior mentor and a senior mentor. When you have a mentorship team, including a formal mentoring committee, and I think that's pretty common today, it wasn't in the past, but you have to make sure that you have mentors that complement each other and their strengths complement each other. And you have to not try to play them off against each other just like children do with their parents. You want to have a relationship that is positive and constructive. But you also need, in addition to all mentors have strengths and weaknesses. And so there are other people that you may need to bring as you go through your career development: political strategists, cheerleaders, role models, learning partners. And there's other people that can provide mentorship in helping you navigate the politics of your institution or the cooperative group that you might be trying to develop a protocol for. So how do you be an effective mentee in order to have success with your mentor? I think there's a couple of things, and really it's the big C, and that's communication. You have to have joint discussions of common expectations and goals. Neither one of you can read each other's minds, so you have to sit down and you have to establish a working relationship and have set times to meet with each other to discuss those. Time that's dedicated for you and time that you show up for your mentor. You need to keep your mentor informed. They shouldn't hear through the grapevine that you didn't get the grant that you submitted, especially if they've invested a lot of time and effort in helping you with that. Share your accomplishments with them as well as your difficulties so they can assist you in navigating those. You can provide feedback on the advice that they gave you so that future mentees can benefit from that if you found something particularly helpful, or maybe there was a different way that might have been helpful for you. And keep your word in your appointments, as I mentioned before. How do you select a mentor? There's a lot of questions that you should ask former mentees of the mentor, and I also encourage people that want to work with me to talk to the people in my laboratory as well as my clinical research group and regulatory group, because we work together as a team, and that team has to complement each other. You have to be in an environment where you're going to feel like you're a positive member of that team and people that you could work well with. So there's many questions that you can ask about the relationship, but I think there's two of these that are critical. Did former mentees view that the mentor had time that was dedicated for them? And did they provide critical and timely feedback to their mentees on grants, publications, and presentations? Because those are the things that are going to help make you successful. And the last thing I think that is critically important is, do they have a vision for you and your future career development that doesn't overlap with others that they're mentoring at the time? So there are some things that you and your that are important for your mentor, and you can work with them on this, and that's kind of a checklist for mentors. Do they raise your awareness of funding opportunities? Do they help you with time management strategies, priority setting, manuscript and grant preparation strategies, and so forth? But all these things, it's not just the project you're working on, it's also your career development. Do they help you in thinking forward about what you're going to need for promotion or on gaining appropriate public speaking and writing skills? And then again, here comes networking. Do they introduce you to national and international leaders in relevant fields? So sometimes some institutions require that mentors and mentees attend a formal course together to solidify their working relationship and their expectations. If you don't, sometimes it's very helpful to actually have a formal document that when you meet on a periodic basis, you look at, okay, what were the goals from the beginning, and are we maintaining those milestones? So this is just one example. There's many different types of forms that you can use, but I think it helps to be specific. And then also to go through periodic assessments of both how the mentee thinks the mentor is doing as well as how the mentor thinks the mentee is doing. Again, another form of communication. So now I'm going to switch gears and just highlight some of the features that were alluded to that are very important in your mentor letter of support, and I'll briefly highlight each one of these components. So not only should a mentor letter of support have these components, but you also have to read the directions for the RFA and make sure that you highlight any specific elements that are required for that grant application. So mentor qualifications. Your mentor needs to say up front in the letter why they're qualified to mentor you in this particular area of research and demonstrate that they have a track record in the field as well as a history of productivity and support and a track record as a mentor. They can briefly outline their prior trainees and the success of those trainees. The mentor needs to introduce you in the letter, and it needs to come across to the grant review committee that there's some sort of relationship there. How do they know you? How long have they known you? Why are they enthusiastic about your proposal? They can briefly outline your prior productivity and experience and highlight why they think that you are going to be successful, because there's a lot of other very successful people that are applying for the same grant application as you. The mentoring plan is a key component of this letter, and it should be very specific. I've seen applications fail the first time around. They've had great science, but they haven't had a detailed mentoring plan. So if there's co-mentors, you need to describe their roles and how the mentors are going to communicate with each other. This can't be mentorship in a vacuum. You need to describe your mentoring committee, how often they meet. What are the scheduled and ad hoc meetings that you're going to have with your mentor? And then provide a detailed description of your training plan, which was mentioned previously. That should include a detailed description of meetings that you're going to attend to help you achieve your goals, and then a description of how your project will eventually either transition to your lab or your future career development. Institutional resources are obviously a key component of every application, and I won't spend more time on those. Again, as mentioned previously, what is the institutional commitment? This has to be explicitly stated that whatever is the requirement in the grant, if it's 50% or greater than or equal to 75%, that you are going to have that effort devoted to research, and your letter needs to explicitly say that. And then the assurance that the institution intends that the candidate will be an integral part of its research program going forward. The mentor letter of support should also describe goals and future plans as a result of you receiving this award. What are the expectations of you in terms of publications? It should be an expectation that you're going to present your results at national and international meetings, and that will be supported. And how is this, if you're preparing for a clinical translational research protocol, how is your research going to lead to the development and implementation of this protocol? And then depending on what type of mentorship award you're applying for, how this is going to lead you to the next step, whether it be a K-23 or K-08 or an R01. Again, I won't go through these, but every RFP for mentored awards has a list of the criteria for review for the committee that's going to be reviewing the application. So look at those and make sure that you have touched, or your mentor has touched, on all of those elements in your application and in your letter, so that the committee can be assured of that. And these are just pulled from straight of from one of the applications. Again, there's a long list of them usually, so make sure that you highlight those. And then frequently you'll need other letters of support. Advanced planning and all of this is key, as is communication and coordination. Ideally, your mentor and the other people that are providing you letters of support have had an opportunity to read your application more than a week before it's due, so that when they're writing your letter, they can speak to what is in your proposal. And so it appears that you are working together as a team and it is coordinated. So when you ask somebody for a letter of support, you need to provide them with the details of the submission deadlines, how they should return the letter to you. Sometimes they're confidential and get submitted directly to the reviewing agency. Sometimes they're part of your application. What points should they highlight in the letter? Put that out in a bullet format for the person writing your letter so they don't have to slog through the application. If appropriate, provide them with the draft letter. If you're providing multiple drafts, don't make them all the same. It's very obvious when an application comes in and has 4 draft letters that are word for word the same. So you need to make sure that if you're doing that, that they're different, and then the person writing the letter can modify it accordingly. And proofread your letters carefully. People sometimes use templates, and the he shouldn't be a she or vice versa. It needs to be a letter that was written for you. So don't wait until the last minute. Thank the individuals who have written your letter, because chances are you'll be asking them for a letter in the future. And provide them with a status update, whether you got the grant or not, what kind of feedback you got in your application, so that if you do have to reapply, they can incorporate that into any letters that they write for you. I can't really emphasize how key mentorship is and how important it is. And this is just a quote from one of the Nobel laureates, Dr. Lefkowitz, who got a Nobel Prize in Chemistry with one of his mentees. And this is a comment on the senior person. But it said, what really makes him unique as a role model, a mentor, is that he really loves to understand the innate qualities that determine someone's potential. And then he gets you to realize what your potential is. It's essentially self-discovery. It's interesting. His love for research is all about curiosity and discovery. It's the same principles that lead him to be a fantastic mentor. So you want somebody who's passionate, and you also want somebody who's not going to take the credit for what their mentees do, but is going to go out there and really let the world know the work that you've been doing and give you the credit for what you've done, even if it's under their mentorship. Any questions? Sure.
What if you start working with someone and you can tell, like, within the first 6 months, it's not a fit? Like, how do you get out of a relationship into a new one without, you know, someone thinking,
So that's the next.
must be wrong with you as our mentee?
That's an excellent question, and I'm sorry I omitted that. So the question is, what do you do if you're in a relationship with a mentor that appears that it's not working? How do you get out of it? And I think the key is to recognize that early. I would say 95% of the time there's a good fit, and that's why you should spend time up front and asking all those questions and talking to people. But sometimes, despite all that homework, the relationship doesn't work. And so then what you need to do is go to your program director and talk about the issues. And I would always go, when you have issues, you need to also present a plan as to, I think that I need to be out of this relationship, and here's what I propose as the next steps to do in terms of seeking another opportunity. But don't languish. If something appears that it's not going to work, do not spend another 3 months or 6 months trying to make it work, because you're going to find yourself very behind. And I think everybody in the field recognizes that sometimes there are situations that don't work. Do a lot of reflection, figure out why it didn't work, why it wasn't a good fit, so that when you move to another mentor, you don't have those same issues arise.